Academic publishing hides within a broad range of business models and approaches. Efforts to reform publishing largely revolve around changing the financial setup, with most efforts simply redistributing the costs. Other reform efforts aim to reorder the processes involved in publishing. One such effort that is gaining attention is Publish, Review, Curate, PRC. But what exactly is PRC, and does it represent a positive step forward or not? Let us start with the current publishing workflow. Authors complete their work and prepare a manuscript. This manuscript is then sent to a journal where the editor assesses the work for scope and impact before deciding if they will send it for peer review. The manuscript goes out to 2 to 3 reviewers, and then these peer review reports go back to the editor and the authors. Authors go back and comply with the review requests before resubmitting their work. This process repeats until the reviewers are satisfied and the work is accepted for publication. At this point, the authors pay the journal an article processing fee if they want to make their work open access. As you may be able to tell, the submit, review, publish, curate workflow delays the sharing of scientific findings and is highly inefficient, leading to significant waste of reviewer effort. This is where PRC comes in. PRC suggests that we reorder the system so that work is shared first and then reviewed and subsequently curated. Aim is to improve efficiency and increase speed. This also all occurs transparently. So let's break down PRC. The publish step occurs through preprints. A preprint is a scientific manuscript shared online through preprint servers prior to journal-organised peer review. These have no costs to authors or readers. Once a preprint is submitted to a server, it is generally available online within 48 hours. Many preprint servers have basic screening processes in place to prevent pseudoscience or results that need greater scrutiny from appearing online. In PRC, the preprint must then go on to be reviewed. The review step can be carried out by a range of different preprint peer review organisations, and there are currently 20 of such organisations, with each taking slightly different approaches. One example would be Review Commons, which acts as a centralised peer review service. Other organisations behave much more like journals, such as the approach taken by eLive, who still view themselves very much as a journal. Others still are more grassroots and community-led, such as pre-review. Finally, these preprint review packages must be curated. The PRC movement still struggles to define how curation will work, but the two dominant approaches currently are either publishing in a journal, often the same service that conducts the peer review, or by providing a commentary or vocabulary to the peer review report. So what are the theoretical benefits to the PRC model? This model provides greater transparency throughout the reviewing process. Everything from the initial preprint to the peer review reports and curation are all public. This model should also help to move away from binary accept-reject decisions, which can help to focus attention on individual articles. Although not all PRC proponents agree with moving away from such final decisions. Preprints have a good evidence base and have achieved a fair adoption across certain disciplines so far, although this model is much more about review and curation. PRC does generally achieve process improvements, such as allowing reviews to travel with the preprint across venues, in theory. It also allows multiple different services to potentially review a preprint. This model also allows for iterative improvement, although there is little evidence that researchers really engage with iterative practices at present. However, these benefits are not all necessarily as good as they may seem or be communicated. So what is the current reality and concerns of the PRC model? Let's begin with data on the current landscape. PRC proponents suggest that this model will speed up reviewing and sharing of research, and data from some of these services does support that they can provide relatively quick reviews. However, the model is not based on individual efforts but improving the whole system. Comparing the posting date of a preprint with the date of evaluation reveals that the PRC model is not as big an improvement as it may seem. Although this does depend on the review service, those that are more journal-like, such as eLife or PCI, have much longer delays than more grassroots efforts, such as Prelights. In fact, those longer delays are not that much quicker than the time to publication in a journal. Another key issue is that this model still does not have a clear answer to the curation step. Some platforms provide short editorial summaries, or summaries of review reports. Others apply labels, badges, or rating systems. Some propose more formal recommendations or endorsements. Some are journals. Whilst proponents argue this is experimentation, in reality this introduces yet more confusion to researchers. Some believe that there should be a clear accept or reject decision as part of the curation effort. This keeps the model very similar to current journals. Indeed, this is another issue with the PRC model. As things are currently, for the most part, the model is not treating each step as individual or detached. The model mostly works as publish, then a combined review curate. Effectively, this is exactly the same system as posting a preprint that is then reviewed and published by a journal, a system we are achieving right now without needing a whole new reform movement and splitting of resources. This similarity also suggests that the PRC model will simply lead to a reinforcing of prestige markers. For example, instead of impact factor, it will be which service curated the work. Not only that, but the PRC model is heavily fixed on peer review. Despite this, the PRC movement does not fix the significant issues underlying peer review, such as the strain of increased requests, decreased reviewer time, and a shrinking reviewer pool. By not fixing these issues, the model carries them over and is effectively a movement being built on already sinking foundations. The PRC movement is also highly likely to lead towards increased costs and inequity. It is highly conceivable that this model will introduce costs for peer review and curation, ultimately worsening the financial inequity in academia. Indeed, some services have already raised the idea of charging for peer review. One can imagine a situation whereby under PRC model, an author is required to pay an article reviewing charge and then an article processing or curation charge. Not only that, but funders are likely to bear the cost of partially supporting these services through grants, in addition to paying these charges, as is the case currently with eLife. Finally, the PRC movement is currently a publisher-led effort. This is a very important consideration when supporting this model, as it is disingenuous to misrepresent this as being by and for the community. A comparison could be made with article processing charges, which have caused immense harm to open science and research. PRC has the potential to damage the open science movement and readjust trust from researchers if yet another open science effort fails to bring about meaningful change. The model is a hijacking of preprints to further individual goals over efforts that would better benefit researchers and academia more broadly. Not only this, but the movement does not accept critique or allow open discussion, being driven by closed-door meetings, not very in keeping with the demands it makes on others. In summary, the PRC model is gaining attention across a range of stakeholders in open science. It does offer minimal improvements over the current publishing system. However, it fundamentally fails to fix vital aspects of the system on which it relies, whilst at the same time limiting experimentation. This movement is pulling resources, funding, policy decisions, and attention away from standalone preprints or genuine experimentation, all for a model that is already outdated and rather limited thinking.
If you want to learn more about preprints, then check out Rippling Ideas, an advocacy and consulting organisation led by the world-leading preprint experts with a people and evidence-driven approach that you won't find anywhere else. Head to ripplingideas.org to learn more about preprints and see even more resources. Sign up to our newsletter to keep up to date with our latest efforts and a monthly roundup of relevant news. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button below too.